It was the most watched special of the year. I thought, everyone loves me now. Everyone loves me now. Then I got this tweet. Real tweet. Right. Call yourself a comedian? He knows I do. Literally says the word in my Twitter bio. Call yourself a comedian? You're about as funny as... Now, I thought he was going to go for the jugular and say Miranda, or... Come on. Come on, guys. Don't... I'm joking. Right. Call yourself a comedian? You're about as funny as a fart at a baby's funeral. He was trying to hurt my feelings. But his big mistake was choosing something that would be fucking hilarious. As if that would... A fart at a baby's funeral. Big echoey church. Everyone just silently sobbing like that. Tiny little coffin. Tiny little coffin. And someone farts, you'd laugh. Even if it was your baby. You know, no. If you're at the funeral, it's been dead a week, do you know what I mean? You're probably up for a giggle. Particularly if you're the father. If you're the mother, you're probably... Ghost hunter. All around the world, thousands and thousands of hours of footage. They've never seen a fucking ghost. Not what... It's all like, oh, what was that? Was it that I was just the... No, not the... Oh, did you hear that? Was it just that? Was it you? Oh, no, no. Imagine if wildlife programmes were like that. Imagine watching David Attenborough all these years, and everybody goes, here, on Kilimanjaro, we see the... Oh, no, it's not. And by the banks of the Limpopo, the elusive... Oh, it's not. You'd stop watching the cunt. I've never seen a ghost. The pedo hunter shows, on the other hand, there's usually a couple in the crew just in case, you know what I mean? Particularly if it's a BBC production. Oh, shut up. There's no reincarnation, no ghost, no heaven, I believe. People can't get over that. People quiz me on Twitter when they find out I'm an atheist. They go, what, you don't believe in God at all? I go, no. Do you pray? I go, no. They go, why don't you pray just in case there's a God? And I say, why do you put garlic over your door just in case there's a Dracula, right? And I've got no problem with praying, you know? I know loads of nice Christians and Muslims and Jews. Did anyone have a pedo teacher when they were at school? Yes, yeah. Round of applause for pedo teachers, yeah. Fucking hell. Unbelievable. That's another thing. I think where people are now trying to be so politically correct, they're trying to out-woke each other. Soon someone's going to say, you can't say pedo anymore. It's a derogatory term. It offends people who are child addicted, right? So you're going to have people going to the doctor going, doctor, I think I'm child addicted, right? And doctor go, oh, you poor thing. How do you feel? I feel like I want to fiddle with kids. That is one of the symptoms. Don't worry, sit down. We'll get you into a facility at taxpayers' expense, right? And we'll wean you off children. How does that work, doctor? Well, you know, like when they give heroin addicts methadone, yeah? Well, we're going to start you on dwarves, right? It might work. It might... It might work. How does that work, Doc? Wow, let me think. I haven't thought it through. Right, OK, no. So what you do is you come into... We've hired loads of dwarves, right? And we're not open during the panto season. We can't get the staff, right? So you come in February to November, right? And we've hired loads of dwarves, right? And we've dressed them up as school children, right? And they just run around the campus, right? Run around like they're free-range dwarves. Little free-range dwarves, right? And they look like they're about 6 years old, right? But they're not. They're above legal age, so you're not breaking the law. And they've been paid, so it's consensual. And you just go up to one you fancy, pull down his little trousers, fiddle, is it, hey, doctor, I said I was a pedo, I didn't say I was gay, right? Do you think... Do you think there's like homophobia in the sort of paedophile community? Like one paedophile, he's all smug, he's heterosexual, he's abducting a little girl, right? He's taking a little girl into the forest, and he looks over and he sees another paedo with a little boy, and he goes, "You fucking bender." There's a London borough that tried to ban registered paedophiles living within 1 mile of a school. Now, say what you will about paedos, but they're not lazy. You know what I mean? A lot of them are bus drivers. That's nothing. You know? So this did everything together. We took a year out before we went to college to earn money to get pissed, really. And we did. It was the best summer ever. And but then something happened. His grandmother died, and he lived with her, so it was a big deal. And he went to the funeral, and the first place he came after the funeral was my house. He sat down in his little black suit, and it was just quite... I didn't know what to say. No hugging, right? So I just went, "How was it?" He went, "It was awful." He said, she was cremated, and we all went outside to watch the smoke go up, and the wind changed, and it all blew in our faces, right? And I went, "What, in your mouth?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "I took a chance." I said, "Did it taste bitter?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "That was her clitoris." Right? For him, because he was probably late 20s, and there was something wrong with him. He was like a nervous sort of guy, and he was obviously gay, and he had a fling with one of the older boys, who might have been 16, 17, so now would have been totally legal, but then technically a nonce, banished, convicted, never heard of again, big scandal, right? And when it broke, I went home that day, right? My mum was there, and she went, "Did he touch you?" And I went, "No." She went, "You sure?" I went, "Yeah." She went, "He couldn't have fancied you then." So now, my mum is winding me up about me not being attractive enough to be sexually abused. What if I'd have got a complex? What if I'd have thought, "Well, I'll show her," right? I come in at midnight. "Where you been?" "Sucking off bus drivers." That's what you get. But that was typical of my mum. My mum, she was the salt of the earth, but she just said what she wanted, right? And she'd do anything for you, but she reserved the right to moan about it. So, growing up, right, our next-door neighbour, another true story. If I say they're true, by the way, they are. I promise, they're all true. And my favourite are the school stories, and this is probably my favourite school story ever. It was 1976 again, so I was about 14. And we had a kid in our class called Gary Masterman. And Gary developed Tourette's syndrome, like every sentence of the swear word, and he had a tic, because we learned all about it in assembly. Gary was up there, all the teachers knew him, all the kids knew him. He was a popular lad, right? And yeah, nice guy, Gary Masterman. But sometimes his tics seemed relevant. And I'll never forget, we were having this lesson with a young female teacher called Miss Wilkie, right? And she was at the blackboard, and she was doing those calling out suggestions. I can't remember what it was about, but she'd go, "Simon, what do you think?" "Yeah, that's good. Yes, that works, yeah." "Brian, what do you..." "Yeah, good, yeah." And she went, "Gary." He went, "I'll finger you, miss." And she just went, "Anyone else?" And she pointed to Sean Dixon, and Sean went, "Yeah, I'll finger you." You've been amazing. Good night. 20s, and there was something wrong with him. He was like a nervous sort of guy, and he was obviously gay, and he had a fling with one of the older boys, who might have been 16, 17, so now would have been totally legal, but then technically a nonce, banished, convicted, never heard of again, big scandal, right? And when it broke, I went home that day, right? My mum was there, and she went, "Did he touch you?" And I went, "No." She went, "You sure?" I went, "Yeah." She went, "He couldn't have fancied you then." So now, my mum is winding me up about me not being attractive enough to be sexually abused. What if I'd have got a complex? What if I'd have thought, "Well, I'll show her," right? I come in at midnight. "Where you been?" "Sucking off bus drivers." That's what you get. But that was typical of my mum. My mum, she was the salt of the earth, but she just said what she wanted, right? And she'd do anything for you, but she reserved the right to moan about it. So, Growing up, right, our next-door neighbour, Mrs. Back, made a tea, and this went on and on. I remember calling home once. My mum was like 70. And I went, oh, I called earlier, you were out. And my mum went, yeah, I was rating Dawson's. And I went, oh, how is she? And my mum went, oh, she just won't die, Rick. I have very fond memories of growing up in Reading, which is why I never go back. But wherever I am in the world, I always bump. They go, yeah, he knows you. Yeah, I'm on the telly, mate. You went to Ashmead School, didn't you? I went, yeah. You know Pete Shepherd. Oh, when was he there? 1993. Yeah, I was 31, mate. I was 30. He knows you, does he? Has he got a telly? Yeah. That's what's happened here. That's what's happened here. But I do like old stories, and I don't tell showbiz stories. They're boring to me. I like real stories, and whenever I'm working up a tour, I try and think of things that has happened to me and how my life's changed. And I thought of one for this tour, and it was hugging, right? No one's been hugging for the last couple of years, right? Which I preferred. I liked that. I never liked hugging. I liked it when you couldn't hug, right? I always felt awkward. I never know when to hug. I didn't hug anyone growing up. I didn't hug anyone until I came to London. People like a working class kid on an estate in Reading. You don't hug people. You don't hug your fucking dad or your granddad or your brother. You wind them up. You take the piss. That's our hug, right? I'll give you an example. We were at our dad's funeral, and I was out in the graveyard with my brother Bob, right? Bob was having a cigarette, right? And our Uncle Mike came along. We hadn't seen Mike for like 25 years. Last time we saw him, he was like 50, and now he's like 75. He hadn't aged well. He was an old man, right? And he came up to us and he went, hello, boys. And Bob sort of looked at him and recognised him and went, fuck me. Like that, right? And then Bob looked around the graveyard and went, is there any point you going home? Right? And Uncle Mike laughed and went, always nice to see you, Bob. Guys, do you ever act more working class around builders? I do. I can be walking around Leafy Hampstead, right? Book of poems, right? Scarf, right? Just humming Brahms, right? And if some scaffolders go, Ricky, I go, all right, you cunts, how you doing, boys? Like that. And I take that, why I try and impress them. I've always been fascinated with human behaviour, right? But as I said at the beginning, we're the only species that allows the universe to understand itself. But we see all nature through our eyes. So it all comes back to us. Why are we here? What makes us? Is it our genetics or the environment? The old nature versus nurture argument. The psychologist Piaget was once asked, what's more important for the intellect of a person, nature or nurture? And he famously replied, what's more important for the area of a field, length or width? All right, mate, if you don't know the answer, just fucking... But psychology, psychiatry, neuroscience, it's still in its infancy. And we still know so little about the brain. And 150 years ago, we knew nothing. It was all guesswork, right? And everything was just mental. If you weren't a white, sort of heterosexual, married Christian man, right? If you deviated too far, mental. They just went mental, like homosexuality, mental illness, you were put in an asylum for life, or worse, tortured. Women who fell pregnant out of wedlock, mental, asylum for life, right? And now we understand things more, we're more tolerant, I think it's going too far the other way, though, because now nothing's mental. You can't find something that nothing is considered mental. Everything is a syndrome.